And today, we're tackling a true legend, a piece of gear that didn't just influence music, it practically reshaped it. The Akai MPC 3000.
The MPC 3000. Now, anyone even vaguely familiar with hip-hop has probably heard this name thrown around. But this isn't just some dusty piece of vintage tech, oh no. This machine is a game changer, an instrument in its own right.
It's true. It wasn't just about playing drum patterns. The MPC 3000 revolutionized how producers interacted with sound, how they chopped and manipulated samples, breathing life and soul into their beats.
We've gone deep, folk. Articles, interviews, technical specs, the whole 9 yards. We wanted to understand the magic of the MPC 3000 and its impact on music.
And I think it's safe to say we found some magic.
Our goal today is to unpack just what made the MPC 3000 so revolutionary. We'll look at the technical innovations, but also at the producers who took this machine and turned it into a legend.
So to set the stage, the Akai MPC 3000 hit the scene in 1994. Now, it didn't just appear out of thin air. It was building on the legacy of its predecessors, the MPC 60 and the MPC 60 II.
And here's a fun fact for you. The man behind this marvel, the designer, was Roger Linn. You might recognize that name.
The same Roger Linn who gave us the iconic Linn drum. That's a serious pedigree right there.
Exactly. His continued collaboration with Akai on the MPC 3000 was, I think, a key ingredient in its success.
No doubt. And speaking of ingredients, the MPC 3000 brought a whole lot of technical advancements to the table. One of the biggest was the introduction of 16-bit sampling.
16-bit? What did that actually mean for the sound, like compared to earlier machines?
Night and day, really. Earlier samplers, they were often 12-bit. This jump to 16-bit meant a much wider dynamic range. You could capture more of the subtleties, the nuances of the original sound. The samples just sounded richer, more professional, a level of audio fidelity that was a huge step forward.
Okay, that makes sense. I remember reading about its polyphony, too. It had 32 voices, right?
That's right, 32 voices of polyphony. And for producers, this was a game changer.
Break it down for us. What does that actually mean in terms of making music?
Imagine layering drums, melodies, bass lines, all at the same time. With 32 voices, the MPC 3000 could handle it all without breaking a sweat. No more sounds cutting out or the machine choking. It allowed for much denser arrangements, richer soundscapes.
And it had improved MIDI sequencing too, right? Becoming more than just a drum machine?
You got it. It turned into this central command center for a whole studio setup. You could control synthesizers, other drum machines, all synced up perfectly with the MPC 3000 as the brain. It was a sampler, a sequencer, a groove box, all rolled into one.
A true multitasker. But there's one feature that everyone talks about, almost reverently. Swing. What exactly is swing, and why was it such a big deal for the MPC 3000?
Swing, in essence, is what gives music that human feel. Before the MPC 3000, a lot of drum machines sounded very rigid, robotic, like a metronome. Every beat was perfectly on the grid, quantized.
Quantized. So for those who aren't producers, that means snapping everything to a precise grid, right? No room for the subtle imperfections of human timing.
Exactly. But the MPC 3000, with its swing feature, well, it changed everything. It allowed producers to introduce subtle shifts in timing. Instead of everything being perfectly aligned, you could create a looser, more natural groove.
It's like the difference between a stiff march and a song that makes you want to dance. It's that human touch, the feeling that the music is breathing.
You nailed it. Suddenly, beats had this organic pulse. It was like a live drummer was in the room. It transformed the sound and feel of hip-hop in a profound way.
Okay, so we have this incredible technology, right? But it's the artists, the producers, who really took the MPC 3000 and made it sing. And you can't talk about the MPC 3000 without talking about, well, the master himself, J Dilla.
J Dilla. He wasn't just a user of the MPC 3000, he was an innovator. His approach to beat making, especially his use of the swing feature, pushed the boundaries of what was possible.
I read somewhere that he often didn't even quantize his drums, almost like he was intentionally playing things a little off.
That's the beauty of it. Dilla embraced those imperfections. He'd often play his beats entirely by hand, giving them this loose, almost drunken feel. It's hard to describe, but you hear it instantly. It gives his music this incredible sense of life, of groove.
It's unmistakable. You hear it on tracks like Runnin' by the Far Side or on his work with Slum Village. That album, Fantastic Volume 2, is like a masterclass in MPC 3000 swing.
Absolutely. It's pure Dilla. Those rhythms, they're both intricate and effortless. It's like he's bending time, making the music breathe in a way no one had ever heard before.
No, it's fascinating to think about someone who used the same machine, but in a completely different way. Dr. Dre.
Ah, Dr. Dre, a master of precision. If Dilla was all about that loose, organic feel, Dre was about power and clarity. He used the MPC 3000 to craft beats that were hard-hitting, clean, almost surgical in their execution.
You hear it in tracks like Still DRE or The Next Episode. Those beats have this incredible weight to them. They hit you right in the chest.
It's that attention to detail. Every kick, snare, hi-hat, it's all placed perfectly. His sample chopping was meticulous, and he used the MPC 3000 sequencing to create these huge cinematic sonic landscapes.
It's amazing to think that the same machine could produce sounds so radically different. It speaks to the versatility of the MPC 3000.
It really does. And then you have someone like DJ Shadow.
His album, Introducing, is a classic, and it was pretty much all created on the MPC 3000, right?
That's right. It was a landmark achievement in sample-based music. Shadow would spend hours digging through obscure records, finding these tiny fragments of sound, and then using the MPC 3000, he'd piece them together into these incredible atmospheric soundscapes.
It's like he was creating these sonic collages, taking forgotten sounds and giving them new life.
That's a great way to put it. He was a true alchemist, transforming these raw materials into something entirely new and evocative.
So we've talked about its impact, but here's the big question. Why does the MPC 3000 still matter today? I mean, we have so much advanced technology now. What is it about this machine that continues to resonate?
It's more than just nostalgia. The MPC 3000 fundamentally changed the way beats felt. It moved them away from that rigid robotic sound and injected real soul and groove. It set a new standard.
And I know plenty of producers who still use it today. It's not just a museum piece.
Not at all. Despite all the fancy software and plugins available, many producers are drawn to the MPC 3000's unique sound and workflow. They love the hands-on experience, the tactile feel of the hardware.
And some even say that the limitations of the MPC 3000 are actually its strength. It forces you to be more creative.
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? Sometimes having fewer options, working within constraints, it can actually push you to think differently, to discover new approaches. The MPC 3000 was like that. It wasn't about endless possibilities. It was about making the most of what you had.
Okay, let's break down some of the specific things that make the MPC 3000 so special, so enduring. We talked about the sound. What is it about the sound that people love?
It has a warmth, a punchiness that's really distinctive. A lot of that comes from its 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz sampling engine. It gives everything this weight, this grit, especially drums and bass lines. They just sound so powerful and full on the MPC 3000.
It's not just a neutral recording device. It adds its own flavor.
Right. And the swing, we talked about it before, but the swing on the MPC 3000, it's special. It has this laid-back, funky feel that was perfect for those offbeat rhythms that people like Dilla were creating.
Even when things were quantized, it still had this natural groove, this human feel.
Exactly. And a lot of that feel comes from the way you interact with the machine. The MPC 3000, it really encourages you to play, to use those 16 pads to create your beats in real time.
Those pads are iconic. You just want to tap on them.
They're incredibly responsive, very tactile. It makes beat making feel more like playing an instrument rather than just clicking around on a computer screen. Yeah. It's much more intuitive, more immediate.
But it wasn't just a drum machine, was it? It could do a lot more.
Oh, absolutely. The MPC 3000 was a powerful MIDI sequencer. You could hook it up to all sorts of other gear, synths, drum machines, and control them all from the MPC 3000. Dr. Dre famously used it to sequence his entire studio.
So it really was the central hub for a lot of producers.
It was. And the fact that it was standalone, that you didn't need a computer to use it, that was a big part of its appeal. It allowed for this focused creative flow. No distractions, just you and the machine.
I can see how that would be incredibly freeing.
It was. And within this environment, some really innovative sampling techniques emerged. Things like manual sample chopping, meticulously finding the perfect start and end points for each sound, or layering drums, stacking multiple samples on a single pad to create unique textures.
So the MPC 3000 was more than just a piece of technology. It was a catalyst for new creative approaches.
It was. It pushed people to think differently about how they use samples. And the impact of that can still be felt today.
And the list of people who used it, it's a who's who of hip-hop royalty. Dilla, Dre, DJ Shadow, DJ Premier, Madlib, Kanye West early in his career. It's hard to overstate the influence this machine had.
It's a testament to its power and versatility. And that's why even today, the MPC 3000 is highly sought after.
I've seen those vintage units going for crazy prices online.
They're like collector's items. People recognize their value, their unique sound and feel. And some are even going further, modding them with modern upgrades like SD card readers and backlit screens.
It's like a vintage guitar that people still play and treasure.
That's a great analogy. And for many, the MPC 3000 is extra special because it was the last Akai sampler designed by Roger Linn himself. Some say it represents the peak of their craftsmanship, their sound quality.
So it's more than just a piece of gear, it's a piece of music history.
It is. The MPC 3000 is more than just a drum machine. It's an instrument that shaped an era.
Dilla, Dre, Shadow, all these producers used it in their own unique ways and left an indelible mark on hip-hop.
They showed us what was possible, pushing the boundaries of creativity and innovation.
It's safe to say that hip-hop wouldn't be the same without the Akai MPC 3000.
Without a doubt, a true revolution in a box.
So here's something to think about. We talked about how the limitations of the MPC 3000 actually fostered creativity. That's a powerful idea, and it goes beyond music. It makes you wonder, in any creative field, could it be that constraints, limitations are actually the spark that ignites true innovation, something to ponder?
Subscribe to my channel.